Hollow hold with weighted arm lifts with Perfect 10 physical therapy. The purpose of the hollow hold weighted arm lifts is to actively train overhead arm movement without flaring of the rib cage. Actively train overhead arm movement without neck movement. To train both mobility and stability of the shoulder through eccentric weighted movement. Train the central stability system or core. Improve shoulder flexibility. And improve neck stability. For the hollow hold weighted arm lifts, you will need a set of 2 to 3 pound hand weights or wrist weights. So this is the hollow hold with 3 pounds overhead arm lifts. All right, ready? So back is flat, rib cage is flat, curl the chin in, get the ribs in, good. Slowly lengthen one leg and the other leg out, hover them over the ground, keeping your back flat. Now slow and controlled, one arm overhead, nice and slow. Nice and slow. Good job. Keeping everything together and flat, connected. Other arm. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Slow, slow, slow. Control it, control it, control it as far as you can go. Good. Now both arms. Nice and slow. Good. Now palms facing each other and make sure your back is flat. If you need to reset, you get reset. Good, yeah, just reset. Curl, rib cage, head, good. Good. Now one arm, slow, slow, slow. Good. Other arm, slow, slow, slow. Control. Good. 2 arms. Slow, slow, slow. Good. Now reset if you need to reset, and then we're going to do palms facing up. So you're going to do, this is all one set, and the goal is to get to 3 to 5 sets of these. And this helps with opening on a hurdle, going into your yurchenko vault, opening into the back handspring on the yurchenko vault. It also helps with opening on clear hips, free hips, handstands, cast handstands, opening on a set, opening on the hurdle into a round off on tumbling. This also even helps with opening on a back handspring on the balance beam. Just anywhere you need to keep your shoulders open and your back stable. When training movements, it's best to train in a variety of movement patterns in order to encompass your full strength capabilities. And then you have a menu of movements to choose from when it's time to actually perform a skill. We'd like to add a variation of movement by adding palms face down, palms facing each other, and palms facing up. You can even be very creative with the arm positionings. The arms don't necessarily have to be or start at the thigh. They could start out 45 degrees, out even further, all the way at 90 degrees. You can be creative with the variety of movement that you add. The more variations you can train, the stronger the athlete will become. Now let's do a second set and notice how the athlete starts to become more stable as she goes. Keeping your back flat. Now slow and controlled, one arm overhead. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Good job. Keeping everything together and flat, connected. Other arm. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Slow, slow, slow. Control it, control it, control it as far as you can go. Good. Now both arms. Nice and slow. Reset again. Good. Go as far as you can, keeping control. Slow, slow, slow and control, far as you can. Good. Same thing on the left. Far as you can, keeping control. Good. Both palms, keeping the rib cage in, keep the rib cage in, keep the rib cage in. Slow, 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 slow. Slower and more controlled on that top part. And then we're going to do palms up. And really try to not let the wrist rotate, inward. You want to keep them completely rotated in the reverse grip. And only go as far as you can doing that, which can be hard. Keep them rotated. Yep. Slow, slow, slow. Good. Slow. Really start to go slow when you get there. Slow, slow, slow. Really slow, slow. Control it, control it. Oh, can you go further? Try that one again. I think you had further. You can reset. But I actually think you had a little further than you thought. So curl. Good. Slow, slow, slow. Go further, go further, go further. Yes! There you go. Oh, that was hard. Good work. Good work. Good work. The last set, now that you're learning where your body is, stay connected. Keep the ribcage and pelvis in, but go as slow as you can and as far as you can, each one. See how far you can go before you start to lose something. Good. Keep the rib cage in and do one arm slow as you can, far as you can. Really control it. Good. Same on the other side. Really control it. Nice. Now 2 arms. Really keep that rib cage in. Slow and controlled. Slow, slow, slow. Far as you can go. Slow, slow, slow. Good job. Okay, reset. Palms are facing each other this time. Good work. You're doing really good work. Slow, 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 slow. Good. Slow as you can, as far as you can. There you go. Good. 2 arms. Slow and controlled, control, control, control. Good job. Reset if you need to, and then palms up. Same thing. Far as you can, as slow as you can. You got this. Last set. Good. Try to keep the palms facing. Don't let them rotate. Don't let them rotate. Yep. Good. Now both arms. Keep the back flat. Go slow. Keep them straight forward. Don't let them rotate. Rotate. Stay tight. 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 Good. Good job. One of the most common questions I always get asked is how many of something? How many repetitions do we need to do? And my answer is pretty much the same. It's not about the repetitions. It's about the quality of the movement. So it's always based on the individual athlete, and every exercise needs to be customized to their ability to maintain the form or technique that you desire, and also the ability to attain the shapes and skill-specific shapes or strength or movement that you are trying to attain with each exercise. That's really the key concept. However, I'll give you a general idea of how I do repetitions with this exercise. So the right arm, left arm, then both arms equals 1 repetition. 1 repetition with the palms down, and then I have them do 1 repetition with the palms facing each other, and then 1 repetition with the palms up. That equals 1 set. Typically, I have athletes train 3 to 5 sets, so I have them work up. Now again, the key is, when do they lose their neck? They can't keep looking at their belly button, or their head or chin or nose starts coming out so that their head is in cervical or neck extension. Or they can't keep their rib cage in and they start to lose the hollow. Or they lose control of their arms and they can't control the weight over their head. Those are all implications that it's time for them to stop. It's not about how many repetitions at that point. You're training just bad habits and compensations. So very important to watch technique and form. And by teaching the athlete technique and form, they will know when to stop and when to take a break and when to start again. Common compensations you're looking for. Commonly, athletes will allow the ribs to come out as their arm goes overhead. This is what you normally see in gymnastics as a rib flare, or it could disguise itself as they're arching in their low back. But really, it's just losing the connection between the rib cage and the pelvis. So the key here is to keep and maintain that hollow, keeping the rib cage and pelvis in the same plane, or I like to tell the kids to keep it in the same zip code, because sometimes they're in other cities and away from each other. So you can cue them by they can put their hands on their rib cage and their pelvis with their 4th and 5th fingers on their pelvis and their thumbs on the bottom of the rib cage, and they can feel when the rib cage is coming out. So teaching them that before doing this exercise is helpful. Cueing them just to keep their rib cage in, cueing them to look with their eyes towards their belly button or their toes, that also will help. Another common compensation is that they allow the chin to poke out, or they lose their head position. This is a compensation for weak, deep cervical flexors. So we want to keep that chin in, and I cue them to do that by having them look at their belly button. And every time their chin or their nose comes out, I just keep cueing them to look at their belly button so that they don't lose their head position. Another common complaint is arching in their low back, which you can easily see. You'll see a space or some light through their low back. Again, this is actually led more from the pelvis coming out of connection from the rib cage versus the rib cage leading it. So I just cue them to tilt their pelvis towards their head. Sometimes I'll tell them it's like you have a monkey tail on your tailbone, and you want to take the monkey tail, tuck it between your tail, and pull it up, right? Sometimes athletes, I tell them they're putting on a tight pair of pants and they need to zip up their pants, and they have to go and zip up. I still want them breathing while they're doing this, but it's just an idea of getting them to figure out how to get their pelvis not in an arch. Other athletes who are very tactile, you can just say, keep your back flat on the ground, and just keep the back flat. You have to kind of work with whatever learning style or imagery works for that athlete. So I always have several different images that I'll play with. But very simply, keep your back flat on the ground works with a lot of people, but not everyone. Many times they allow their feet to drop to the floor, and that's just also weak lower abdominals, as well as possibly some hip flexors that are doing some interesting things. So I, again, just have them hover their feet. If that's too hard, you can have them bend their knees slightly so that the lever arm is not as long and still maintain the hollow. If that is still too hard, then I will bring their feet so that their feet are actually on the ground and bent in what we call hook lying position. Most of the time they can hold them off the ground and their back flat on the ground with their knees slightly bent. And you can just change the amount of bending. And then as they get stronger, you work towards a straight legs. One of the other very common things is overhollowing, because they'll use their six-pack muscles, their rectus muscles, instead of their deep abdominal muscles. So that looks like someone just really over-rounded from up top, usually. So what I cue with them is, again, back to that rib cage pelvis alignment, and I help them try to find where they have what I call long hollow versus a very over hollowed position. And they need to be able to breathe in the position. If they're breathing, then they're using deeper central stability muscles. and they're working more on finding that straight body and connection versus overusing their six-pack muscles to hold themselves up. For more information, go to perfect10physicaltherapy.com or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube at Perfect10PT.